Hockey is back! Sort of. That's right, hockey fans. After what feels like a millennia of not playing hockey, the NHL is finally returning to finish its 1920 season with some, let's call it, interesting playoff formats. The top 4 teams in each conference will play each other one time in a round robin to determine the 1 through 4 seeds for each conference in the playoffs. And the remaining 8 teams in each conference will play one team in a best of 5 to determine the 5 through 8 seeding. Everybody got that? And to the 7 teams not returning to play this year, Buffalo, New Jersey, Anaheim, Los Angeles, San Jose, Ottawa, and Detroit. Tough shenanigans. No, but really, I'm sorry, that really sucks. But what does this mean for the Washington Capitals? Well, let's recap. The Washington Capitals ended the 1920 season atop the Metro Division for their 5th straight division title. Ovechkin snags his 3rd straight and 9th career total Rocket Richard trophy, ending the season with 706 career goals. That's just incredible. That's a lot of goals. But as awesome as individual goal scoring is, I don't think it's the ultimate goal for Alex Ovechkin. He wants another Stanley Cup, plain and simple. And if he's going to do it, he's got a lot of tough teams he's got to beat. Topping the Metro Division this year only awarded 3rd place to the Washington Capitals in the conference, which means they're going to have to play Boston, Tampa, and Philly in the round robin to see where they place. Now the good news there is that we're not going to have to play any of those 3 teams in the first round, thank God. Boston has just been dominant all season. You can't deny that. Brad Marchand, as much as I hate him, he's a beast. And then you have Pastrnak, who shared the Rocket Richard trophy with Ovechkin this year, tied at 48 goals. The dude's a scoring machine. Tampa's been a dominant team for years. We saw back in 2018 when the Caps won how good they were. They were favored to win. And they're virtually unchanged since then. Kucherov on one side of the power play, Stamkos on the other side of the power play, Hedman at the top of the power play. You can't defend that. And then there's the Philadelphia Flyers, who, let's be honest, if the season hadn't ended when it did, they would have overtaken the Capitals for leading the division and ended up winning the division in the end. Oh yeah, Brad, but what about the Penguins? The Penguins are good too. Well, yes and no. You see, the Penguins ended 5th in the conference, which means they have to play Montreal in a best of 5 qualifying round series. There's a slight chance the Penguins might not make the playoffs this year. And as much as it warms my heart to say that, it also kind of sucks because in my world, there's no Stanley Cup worth winning if you didn't beat the Pittsburgh Penguins to get it. And for those of you keeping score, if the Penguins don't make the playoffs this year, that'll be the first time since Sidney Crosby's rookie year that they didn't make the playoffs. I'm ready for them to feel that again. But enough about the Penguins, let's talk about the next matchup between the Carolina Hurricanes and the New York Rangers. That's right! Andre I get beat in the face by Ovi the Great Svechnikov is going up against Mika I score 5 goals in a game and make the Washington Capitals look stupid Zibanejad. Those of you who know which Rangers game I'm referring to, you know my pain. But I gotta give this matchup to the Carolina Hurricanes. They've just been playing better this season, and even with Zibanejad, I don't think the Rangers have the team to pull together to make a long run for Cup contender. The next matchup is a little bit of a snore fest. You have the New York Islanders versus the Florida Panthers, and yeah, New York Islanders. Barry Trotz. Let's go. Oh, but the final matchup in the East is the one I'm looking forward to. You have the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Columbus Blue Jackets, and I'm going to be honest, guys, let's go Leafs. I want them to make a deep run this year. The Boston Bruins have really taken them for the ride in the past couple of years, but I think this year, if they can get past Columbus, they can do it. And let's be honest, any team that plays against John Tortorella, I'm rooting for you. But I think the big question as we start returning back to play this year is, how legitimate are these playoffs? There's been a lot of people questioning as to whether there should be an asterisk next to the name of the person who wins the cup this year. In short, of course not! Are you crazy? If a team lost its lead goal scorer 2 games before the regular season ended, no one would think twice about putting an asterisk next to the name of whoever wins the cup that year. It's just what happens. So some teams might not get their star players back. I highly doubt that's going to be the case, but even if it is, it's better than not having playoffs at all. I mean, think about the alternative. If we don't play playoffs, the St. Louis Blues remain the Stanley Cup champions for another year, and nobody wants that. Now, before you go crazy mashing away on the keyboard down in the comments section, let me be clear. I value the safety of all the players, staff, and coaches coming back to play this offseason. I'm pretty sure the last thing that anybody wants to see is the entire league being infected and then no hockey gets to happen. I guess ultimately I like to say that I think it's better to play some hockey with a sub 100% team than no hockey at all. But we can't forget, this might still not happen. Uncle Gary set a tentative date of July 30th for the league to return to play, but Uncle Bill still has to agree to that. Well, let's not worry about that. We're gonna press on like we're playing hockey. When the league paused the regular season back on March 12th, the Washington Capitol lines were pretty solid. And despite some streakiness in the win column in those last few weeks of the season, I don't think Reardon needs to make too many changes with his forwards. The X factor for me going into the postseason is going to be the third line. At the end of the regular season, Reardon had been messing with Eller, Kovalchuk, and Hagelin, and if those three can sync up, I think that third line is going to decimate going into the postseason. Now things start to get a little shaky when we start talking about the defense. I think the top pairing has been great. Carlson and Dillon have been working great together at the end of the regular season, and I think that needs to continue into the postseason. But the second and third pairings could virtually be anyone. At the end of the regular season, we started to see a lot of Orlov and Jensen on the second pairing, and Kempny and Siegenthaler on the third pairing. Gudas... you gotta bench him in my opinion. He's just not doing great. He started off okay coming into the Capitals organization, but has since trailed off, and I think the six that we ended the season with are going to be the six we need to go into the postseason with. It's just a matter of the combinations. If I'm Reardon, this is where I start when I come back to training camp on the 10th. Training camp is scheduled to be 2 weeks long, which is good. That's going to give Reardon plenty of time to look at all three pairs and see what's going to work best. And then in net, we have our trusty Holtbeast, and behind him, Samsonov. There's no doubt that Holtby will be starting the postseason for Reardon, but Samsonov is a great backup, and it's good to know that we have him on the bench in case we need him. Now, as excited as I am for hockey to come back, I do have to stop and think about the impact that such a late postseason is going to have on the start of next season. If the round robin for each conference and the play-in qualifiers start on July 30th like the NHL is proposing, that could take at least 2 weeks just to determine the 8 teams from each conference that will actually play in the playoffs. And if it takes 2 weeks, that means the normal best of 7 rounds won't start until mid-August, which means the Stanley Cup probably won't be awarded until mid-October. That's when the normal season for next year is supposed to start. I do suspect that the NHL and the NHLPA have thought this out because they did take the time to extend player contracts to the end of October, which means they know that the playoffs are going to go that long. But if the Stanley Cup is awarded mid-October and you give the players 2 months off to recoup and have an off-season, that means next season probably won't start until the new year. Now there is a solid argument to completely cut this postseason altogether. The NHL has done a really good job of testing players returning to training facilities for the return to play phase 2. However, that is showing that there's been a rise in positive tests. Tampa had to completely shut down its training facility because they saw so many positive tests returned. It makes me wonder how many positive tests need to come back for the NHL to say, nope, that's it, cut it, everybody wrap it up, let's go. If teams like Tampa aren't able to return to their training facilities in time for the postseason to start, what do? Does the NHL just give the slot to someone else? Buffalo, you look a little bored. Why don't you come play hockey with us this summer? I don't think you can do that. But you could argue that the whole point of testing players when they return to the facilities is to make sure that they don't infect the rest of the team. I don't know. I'm just happy it's not my job to make these decisions because I feel like no matter which way you look at it, someone's going to be mad at you. But nevertheless, we have something to look forward to. At least we hope we do. We should be hearing any day now as of filming this whether or not the NHL is actually going to be able to go through with this. And when they make that announcement, I know all of our questions are going to be answered. Like all of you out there watching this right now, I just want to see hockey back. It's the best sport in the world and I can't imagine summer without playoff hockey. And if the NHL can come out with a great plan that I know can keep the players, coaches, and staff safe while having fun, I'm on board. But what do you think? Do you think the NHL should even be considering coming back to play this summer? Let me know down below. I'm sure there's someone out there with an angle on all this that I just haven't even thought of, so I want to see what they have to say. In the meantime, if you like this video, smash that thumbs up button. It's like a little tip for me and it lets me know that you enjoyed the video. Also, YouTube algorithm. And if you like hockey talk, in particular Washington Capitals hockey talk, subscribe down there. Right there. With the playoffs coming back, there's plenty to talk about and you won't want to miss a video. But what do I know? I'm just a fan. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Recap. We'll see you next time. And as always, let's go Caps!